Should I call a priest and get this exercise from my brain, or is my best friend's exorcism safe to watch? Time to find out. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nightmare Collective. I'm Chris. Thanks for stopping by and watching my review for my best friend's exorcism. Now this is an Amazon Prime original film which premiered on Friday, and I got into a screener for it early, but I ended up choosing to go see Smile, which I'm kind of glad I did. And so I watched this morning, and so you're getting my review now. So what did I think? We'll find out. But first, let's give a brief synopsis of what this film is actually about, because I don't know that most people are going to have this on their radar, especially because Smile's coming out. We got Hocus Pocus 2. We got a lot going on. So was this worth watching? So this film follows two high school best friends, Abby and Gretchen, played by Elsa Fisher and Amaya Miller, respectively. And it's set in 1988, so it's a typical nostalgic-filled 1980s movie, which, I mean, that wasn't a problem so much for me. I mean, obviously being an 80s kid, I'm fine with it. And it wasn't like overt in its like dripping of nostalgia like Hocus Pocus 2 is respective to the 90s, especially that original one. But this is not that, you know, this is not a Ghostbusters Afterlife or anything like that. But it does play up those stereotypes and the music and kind of the technology of the day. But overall, I didn't think it was like in your face, you know, it was just kind of there. We were set in that time, and then we had some trimmings of that and like set decorations based upon that time. Now, this is based on the book by the same name, which I'd never heard of the book. So, I mean, apparently it's a quirky book, and the guy that wrote it is basically like, hey, this is my high school experience without the demonic possession. So I don't know, you know, I'm not really into this type of book. You know, I do like horror stuff and like science fiction stuff, but that's not the avenue I would probably gravitate towards typically. So I don't know if the book's good or not. If you've read it, let me know down below. Is it worth reading? Is it not worth reading? Did you see the movie? Did you like the movie? Is the movie good based upon the book? Or is it, you know, blasphemy as this movie might, you know, relate to. So let's get into it. So like I said, we follow these two high school students, and they're your typical high school students. They're like best friends, like hardcore best friends, you know, they're calling each other. They're doing quizzes from magazines, which is very 80s, early 90s. And, you know, it's getting your Cosmo questionnaires that they're kind of doing between this friend group. And we do have two other friends involved in this, but they're very much side characters. They do play into the movie later on when bad stuff starts happening to them. But like I said, the focus is definitely on Abby and Gretchen. So they decide that they're going to go to a lake house for the weekend so they can kind of get away and just have a girls' night out. And this leads to disaster when Gretchen is inadvertently possessed by a demon, Andros. I feel like it says Star Fox villain here. I think it's Andros or whatever, but I just kept thinking in my mind that it was Andros, and that I was like, where's Peppy? Where is Peppy? But anyway, let's get back to the movie. So she is possessed by this demon. She comes back. She starts acting weird. Now, I will mention, they do drop some LSD in this movie beforehand, so they feel like, oh no, this is just a bad trip. All of this is happening because we decided to lick the devil's candy, and now we're all tripping balls, and it did not go the way that Gretchen wanted it. So she ends up kind of like getting like some sores on her face, and she like looks like she's dead, and she's kind of acting like a bitch throughout the movie, and they kind of all tell her this, and she's being very direct with these people, and like how like much the other girl is like flirting with her boyfriend, and there's like too much PDA going on, and then the other girl is like, she's talking shit about her. So we've got a lot of this like high school drama just elevated because she has no filter now, because she has a demon in her. Demon inside of her body. But like I said, this is played up for laughs throughout some of the movie, and I think that's what doesn't work overall, is the flip-flopping back and forth between trying to, it feels very much like a Marvel movie where it's like something serious happens, and then literally they feel like they got to make a joke the next second or people are going to stop watching the movie. That's kind of how this felt, not as overt as that, but it definitely is like suspense happens. We're being very serious, and I'm like, okay, good, I'm enjoying this. And then they make a dumb, like very juvenile joke because they're in high school. So that's what doesn't work for me overall. The story for me works. It does go in a very different direction for an exorcism-based movie. And, you know, when we get into the ending a little bit at the end of this, I'll kind of talk about that and how that kind of subverts that expectation of what happens. I don't know that it's good, though. So overall, I mean, I don't think this is a great movie. Like I said, there's a lot of high school drama with a dude, you know, and Gretchen's family is very religious, and you do find this out with her parents are very that stereotypical, like holier than thou couple. When she leaves, she gets an apple and a cross put on her. So that's the type of family we're dealing with. So even when it's brought to their attention that their daughter, something terrible has happened to their daughter. I'm not going to use the word because YouTube does not like that word. That's what they think happened. That's what Abby thinks happened before she finds out that it was actually demon possession. But she brings it to the parents, and literally the only thing that they're concerned about is not that. They are concerned about the drugs that she took and how Abby has been a bad influence, and they thought that, you know, by being friends with Gretchen, that would raise her up, you know, and it definitely did not. There is one part I think is kind of funny in this movie, so I'll mention it really fast. There are these groups, and I did see these groups back in the day. I don't know if anybody that is kind of my age remembers back in the 90s when you'd have them come to your school. We had like the dare groups. We also had like these jacked Jesus dudes who would come on stage and like lift weights and rip Bibles and stuff like that. They're like, we're going to get you to believe in the Lord by the power of biceps, you know? So they have this kind of like little montage in there, and that ends up being one of the guys that helps them. And I just thought that part was funny because I could relate to that as a kid. I definitely saw that multiple times at school. You know, we'd all pile into the auditorium, you know, and then see a bunch of dudes who were just clearly roided out of their minds, like ripping, you know, phone books and shit. So I did like that aspect of it because I was just like, I've seen that. I can relate to that. And I thought it was pretty funny. It was cheesy back then. It's cheesy in this movie. So that's really the only thing that I thought that was kind of funny in the movie. Most of the other stuff falls pretty flat for me, and I'm sure it will for you. But overall, I thought the film was fine. It's a good, solid fine. It's not that bad. If I can give a rating for it, it's not that bad. I feel like this most of the movies I review now is it's not that bad. But you got to watch it at home. So it's okay. But like I said, overall, I think the acting is pretty good. The music obviously is great. It's solid 80s music that I really liked. But other than that, nothing too amazing to speak about. So that's really all I have to say about the movie. But I will get into some slight spoilers here. I know this is a very non-spoiler review, but this ending, like minute or two, I'm going to talk about the very ending. So if you haven't seen the movie, click off here. Or if you don't care about minor spoilers for the ending of the movie, stick around. We'll go through it and then we'll get to the ending. So anyway, at the end of this, they, you know, recruit one of the guys from the Lemon Brothers, who's a strong man, and he's going to come help do an exorcism because when he was a kid, his mom died, and he felt that he saw her, and she told him that she was okay, and so he feels like he can, even though he typically does it with his two brothers, he's going to go out on his own and try and exorcise on his own. He does a lot of exercising, just not this type. So he comes, they take her to the cabin, and they strap her down, and they're trying to get the demon to, like, you know, say its name and all of this stuff. And it's a silly thing. And this part for me was just kind of like overdone. It was like silly. So I mean, it is juxtaposition to like your typical type of like exorcism movie. You know, this is not The Exorcist or The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It is not this like dark, brooding, serious take on exorcism. It's supposed to be a lighthearted take on that. So it was fine. I mean, the one thing that does happen that I will say that subverts the normal, you know, expectation of what you would think of this is that that guy ends up basically getting scared after he sees his mother in this girl, and he runs off. And so, like, Abby's basically left to deal with this exorcism on her own, and she does a pretty good job. But by the power of love and friendship and 80s rock, we saved the day. And then this little demon pops out of her. She spews up all this crap, and it becomes a little demon, and, you know, they use some alcohol and some flames, and they burn that motherfucker. So overall, I thought that was kind of silly, but it did subvert what I thought was going to happen in the end. I don't know if it's good or not. I'll leave that up to you. Was it good or not? Again, it was okay. Not that bad, you know, as I'm giving my rating for this movie. So overall, that's pretty much all I got. If you want to check it out, you know, let me know down below what you thought. If it was a good time, I don't know, maybe have a couple friends over, a couple drinks, and you might enjoy it. But that's all I've got today. Thanks for stopping by and watching my review. If you like what I do here, consider becoming part of the collective. You can check out some other reviews I've got at the end of this. I recently did The Munsters. We did Smile. I'm going to do Hocus Pocus 2 probably because someone wants to watch that review. And again, not that bad. Secret, if you watch this whole video, you can get a sneak preview of my review for Hocus Pocus 2. Not that bad. Just like this movie. Not that bad. Not great, but not that bad. All right, that's all I've got. So thanks for stopping by, and don't forget, some doors should never be opened.